I'm going to be talking a little bit more about being different and why there's so much value in being different. But before we actually get started, I would like to spend a couple of minutes to talk a little bit more about being similar, or how we're actually being similar and identical. According to research, what we see is that human beings are only different genetically by less than 0.5%. So if you just take a moment and look to the right and to the left, to the guy sitting next to you, they might be looking very different. And it seems that you're truly unique, but what we actually see is this uniqueness is very, very limited. Let me actually do the following, and let's take this idea from genetics and let's take it one step further to a continuous measure, something like time. What we actually see is if we transfer this idea to time, we have less than 43 hours and 12 minutes of uniqueness a year. So there's a very limited amount of uniqueness that allows us to be very different to all the people around us. But now you might be saying, but maybe there's no benefit, maybe there is no value in being unique, maybe it's something special to actually be similar to others or be even identical to others. What I would like to do today is to actually share with you the idea that there's clearly great things, or there's a lot of value in being unique, being very different. First of all, I would like to highlight the loss or the cost of being very similar to something else. And let me use an example that is maybe not so typical for marketing. And it has to do with Apple versus Samsung. Many of you, I think, are very much aware of the lawsuit that was going on and is still going on in a couple of countries between Samsung and Apple. And it was primarily about infringement of patents. Patents that have to do with the design Apple has been developing. And they actually try to prevent Samsung from copying that idea or copying their design. Now you might be wondering what is actually this date that happened a little bit less than a year ago, the 24th of August, just last year. That was actually the date when the first verdict of the first trial in the US, Apple versus Samsung, was actually announced. It was primarily ruled in favor of Apple. As a consequence, Samsung actually had to pay compensation that was worth more than $1 billion. So a significant compensation. Since that day, it was official as well that basically Apple and Samsung are identical. That there's no difference between at least the iPhone and the Galaxy S at that point in time. So what I was actually interested in is, what is actually the cost or what is the loss of being identical or being similar? And what I basically have done is I checked out the market capitalization of Apple at the 24th of August last year, and I checked it again of the closing of the market last Friday. And I wanted to see how did actually the market value, how did the market capitalization of Apple since then evolve? And that is actually the result. Apple lost more than $190 billion. So now you might be saying, it's probably not only due to that, but I think it proves the point that there is a lot loss in being identical, being very similar to someone else out there in the market, and there might be, as a contrary to that, a lot of value in being different. Let me go to something that is a little bit more mundane. Let's go to something that is a little bit more affecting our day-to-day. Let's think about the typical situation or a typical environment in a supermarket. We actually know that the typical supercenter of Walmart carries approximately 100,000 stock-keeping units, so different products on their shelf. We know as well, according to research, that we are bombarded by roughly 5,000 marketing messages in a single day. So what we obviously see as a reaction, what consumers typically do is they try to block out certain messages. They only pay attention to certain messages they find interesting, that actually add some value to them. In psychological terms, this is very often called as well selective attention, that we only pay attention selectively to certain subjects, certain topics. At the same time, very often they talk about something that is called choice overload. That basically we are presented with so many different options that we actually can't really figure out what is the right alternative, what is the right product, the best product for us. And that was actually even confirmed by research by Columbia University, where they were saying that if we present consumers with more options, what happens in the end is that consumers actually buy less products than if we only offer them a limited set of different alternatives. So what we actually see is currently customers are bombarded with different messages, too many choices, and these choices are not very different, they're not very unique, and hence it becomes very difficult for consumers to actually figure out what they want. Hence, companies, individuals actually might be losing out. So in Darwinian terms, we were always talking about it as survival of the fittest. What I actually believe that paradigm has significantly changed. It is actually survival of those who actually are capable of drawing the necessary attention, that are actually able to stick out, to bring in customers, to be very different, to be unique, or being perceived at least unique in the marketplace. Let me highlight this with only 2 different subjects, and I'm pretty sure, based on a couple of laughters, some of you guys actually know this guy. This is Michael OLeary, many of you might know. Currently, he's the CEO of Ryanair. Actually, contrary to popular belief, he's not the founder of Ryanair. Many of you might know him as well because he's, I want to call it, the ideator of very extravagant ideas, such as getting rid of the pilots in order to save money, or actually charging passengers in order to use the bathroom on the plane. Or some other ideas, one of my favorites is as well getting rid of all the seats on the plane in order to fit more customers or more passengers in the plane, in order to, again, bring down the cost, bring down the prices in order to be more competitive in the market. So you probably have heard about him quite a lot. But only few people actually know that he started like an ordinary person. He started actually at Ryanair many, many moons ago as an accountant. And he was dressed in a nice suit, was wearing the tie, and behaving like an ordinary accountant. As he then, after a couple of years, obviously climbed the career ladder, climbed the hierarchies within Ryanair, and finally was actually appointed the CEO of Ryanair, he realized that he has a fantastic product, a product that is truly unique, but unfortunately nobody really did know about this. At the same time, he was lacking the marketing investment, the marketing bucks, in order to draw that attention to Ryanair. And he opted for the following strategy. He opted for the strategy of being different, creating attention, and hence not only saving significant amounts of money in marketing, but at the same time actually getting a lot of publicity, getting lots of PR that is worth billions or millions of marketing spending. So we see there might be a lot of value in being different, and Michael OLeary, I think, is a fantastic example for that. But we see as well in the marketing world, sometimes it might be possible just by being different, it allows us to create a completely new market. Just in the opening statement, we heard that we have to look at the differences. We have to look at the different poles. And sometimes, in order to have a storm, we have to have as well the calm time, or we have to have the nice weather. What we actually see in this particular case, we see very often as well that it needs an energy drink, something that is hyping us up in order to allow us to create a market for the opposite, to actually have a slowed down drink. Only by being different, we have the opportunity to be successful in the market and to create a completely new product. But at the same time, we not only should be different, but at the same time, we should be relevant. Because very often what is happening is, if we're only different, we sometimes might be perceived as being freaky as well. So what we should be trying is as well to be relevant. And in order to highlight this, I wanted to read you a quick ad that was placed a little bit more than 100 years ago in the London newspaper. Men wanted for hazardous journey, small wages, bitter cold, long month of complete darkness, constant danger, safe return doubtful, honor and recognition in case of success. So let me ask, who would actually sign up for that here in this room? Who would sign up for that? Okay, we have one brave one. Fantastic. Now you're going to say, he's very different, very freaky, and I believe that obviously this job ad is very different. But this job ad was placed by Ernst Shackleton, who actually was, or became, a very famous Arctic explorer. And he actually was successful in drawing people to sign up for that particular job placement. to join him on the Arctic expedition. And actually, just to give you some information, they came back home and actually received honor and recognition and success. So it worked out for these guys. But he was interested in not only being different or finding something different, but at the same time, finding the people that are very relevant. So let me summarize my talk. And sometimes it's easier to summarize my talk with a video. Hence, only a couple of minutes of a short video. So what we see is we have to be different. We see we have to be different in order to draw attention. You see this in this video. He's clearly different. I think he's drawing as well some attention. He's drawing as well some followers. You see it has taken some time to draw that follower. But eventually we will see that they actually even recreate new products, that they work together in making the idea even better, to bring that idea better and bring it forward. At some point, they might actually see as well that more people might be joining in. Now we see the idea suddenly becomes successful. This idea might become even a major trend. It might be so successful that it creates a completely new market, only because they are different. More and more people are joining in. Now you have your success story. You create a market, people are excited. What we see is something that has started as being maybe a little bit freaky, being a little bit different, actually turned into something major, turned into something big. It actually became successful. And what we see, it even became irreplaceable. Thank you very much.